All right. So what you're seeing here is the list that I took to the Philadelphia Regional this past Saturday. I did end up going 4-4, which isn't the worst, but it's also nowhere near topping. Um, Let me actually pull up my matchups here. So I guess we'll do a quick card by card and then go into the matchups. So it was three Alpha, one Albion, Dasher, and Celestial for the Fusion Destiny package. Triple Fractal, triple Kit, double Karas, triple Nerval. Um, the Albaz and the Mercurier for the branded fusion. Triple Rescue Cat, triple Ash, triple Bell, triple Valor. Um, a Crow, three Imperm for the hand traps. You can see the Melfi package here for the puppy, two puppy, one Calantosa, two Caddy. Uh, three triple tack, three branded fusion, two fusion destiny, the one ofs and foolish burial called by and tanky, triple droplet, triple cross out, two revolt, and one branded sword. For the extra, pretty standard for branded tri decks, an Almirage, a Verte, an Oath, one Faragite, one Bearbrum, one Dark, one Rugal, one Apo, one Access, two Shureg, the one Albion, one Brigrand, and one Mirror Jade, and then the DPE because Fusion Destiny. The side, three Lancia, three Collector, one Feather Duster, two Cyclone, three D Barrier, and three Anti Spell. As far as the deck itself goes, it ran pretty freaking well for a deck that I kind of put together 2 days before the event. Like, I went into the event planning on playing Branded Try, and then I was talking to a friend, and they pretty much just like sparked an idea to make what I've been calling Beast Pile. Shockingly enough, I think everything came up. Like, there wasn't really a single useless card here outside of like the garnets of Celestial, and I don't remember drawing Dasher all day, which I guess is just the benefit of playing 60. But like having Alpha in the main actually came up because I was losing die rolls all day. Um, Puppy resolved. I did draw Calantosa a few times, but there's so many effects in this deck to put a card at the bottom of the deck that it wasn't a huge deal. Like, it does suck, but it is what it is. And then the two Caddy just adding whatever beast I needed. Whether it was a Tri Brigade, an Alpha, the Rescue Cat. Um, Triple Tactics was great. Crossout, I guess, underperformed, but that was more a matter of like not seeing it when I would have needed it or not having the correct targets. Um, like, one change that I will say I would make is to swap the Duster for a D shifter. Um, I got stomped by Fluanderies specifically because of Dimension Shifter. And having one to cross out, because I think I opened cross out game 2 for that, would have made a huge difference. But yeah, other than that, really everything came up. Dark actually came up round 1 because my opponent Valored my Verte before I could use the effect. So I went in the dark, special summoned his Verte, and used that to go into, I believe it was DPE. Um, yeah, even I summoned Oath Uh, I think Apo may have been the only one I didn't summon, just because making Apo on turn 1 requires opening, like, a playable hand plus not really being interrupted. And also, like I said, I was going second a lot. Uh, yeah, everything really did its job as far as, like, hand trap choices. I did learn that Branded Fusion can only be used if you haven't done anything besides Fusion Summon. Like, you can only Fusion Summon that turn, and I hadn't realized that before the event. Luckily, the person that called me out on it was nice enough about it, and we just kind of, like, reversed the play and moved on. But yeah, so as far as the matchups, round 1, uh, opponent wins the die roll, says I'm going first. I'm like, well, all right, that's an interesting start to the day. Turns out it was Sky Striker after I, like, built my board, and he hit me with Lightning Storm, and these normal summons Rose starts to go through his stuff. After learning a ruling on Mirror Jade that, at least according to this judge, the Mirror Jade has to be in the grave during the end phase in order to resolve the Raigeki effect. Essentially, what happened is my opponent Shark Cannon used Shark Cannon to steal the Mirror Jade during my end phase, which, according to the judge, turned off the Raigeki effect of the Mirror Jade. Which I'm not 100% sure if that ruling's correct, but that's what they say. It's fine. Game 2, I side in Anti-Spell, side in the Cosmics, the Duster. I think it was game 2, I think games 2 and 3, really. I just opened, like, Anti-Spell plus DPE, and it was enough to just shut him down. He seemed kind of tilted after game 3, but then we talked later and he was fine. We just had a friendly chat. Round 2 was against Tenyi Sword Soul. He goes first game 1, sets up his stuff. I didn't open enough hand traps to stop him or enough extenders to play through it. And then, so I scoop game 2. It was still early. I just had a complete and total brain fart. And kind of the same thing happened game 3, where I just didn't completely think things through. Ended up passing on a really bad board. And even with D barrier, he just, like, cleaned it up, did enough damage. And I just didn't have enough to come back and take it. Round 3 was against Branded. Actually against one of our locals players, which I had no idea he was playing that deck. The last time I played against him, he was playing Cosmo. Yeah, game 1, he super polys my stuff away. I forget what into. I can't recover. Game 2, I make my board, and open Anti-Spell. I ended up with DPE, Verte, and a couple other monsters. I can't remember the exact board, but I'm inexperienced enough with the deck that I didn't think to DPE to clear the 2 darks. So he starts his turn. I go draw phase, flip Anti-Spell. He chains Super Poly and turns my DPE and Verte into a Drago Stapelia. And that was pretty much game, because I also forgot Drago Stapelia has an actual effect, unlike Starving Venom. So that basically ended that round. We took lunch. came back. Round 4, opponent shows up like a minute or two late. Not a big deal. Um, I lose the die roll. He goes first. He opens Prosperity plus D Shifter and just the entire combo and goes off. I can't play through D Shifter. So we go to game 2. I side in like the Lancias, um I think the anti-spell and the Cosmics. Don't see any of them. I go tanky, it resolves, I add Fractal. On res, he D-shifters, which just threw me off. Because usually they shotgun that, which is another conversation I had with a future opponent about shotgunning hand traps. But once again, I can't play through it. He opens full combo, and that was basically it. At this point, I'm starting to get kind of tilted because I've been 0-2 3 rounds in a row, and the past 2, I saw 2 of the worst cards in the format. Round 5, I am now 1-3, basically out of contention already. They pair me against a Nordic player. Really interesting to see that deck with the new support. Like, he wins the die roll. He goes first, and I don't really know what their stuff does. He summons 1, makes the link 1. I ask him what the card does, and like, don't really comprehend what it is that he's saying. He uses the effect, summons 3 from deck, goes to use the 1 to add a spell trap, and I Veiler that. He synchros them off into Odin, which I'm like, oh crap, I remember this guy being pretty decent. I read him, he's decent on their turn. He's decent if you're running destruction effects. Unfortunately for my opponent, also apparently their link 1 protects what it's pointing at from being targeted. Unfortunately for my opponent, I'm running multiple non-targeting banishes, and it's just a very clean 2-0. Like, I clean up game 1 after a few turns. Game 2, he summons Thor instead of Odin, which, same deal. I just clear it with a Sure Egg. But that game I opened so broken that I just OTK'd him turn 2. Round 6 was about as close to a mirror as I was going to get. They were playing Branded Tri Lyrilusk. It was actually a really like fun and interesting match. He took game 1 after a bit of a grind. Game 2, we got to a point where I had sided in Lancia. I start to let him go through his stuff, and I honestly forget what it was that he did. That I just kind of had a read that he had Gamma. So I wait for him to drop the Karis, and then I Lancia, and he had nothing else. I go through my entire turn, and again, I open broken enough that I was able to OTK him, and I'm just doing everything that I can to keep that Karis on board until the last minute. And it gets to the point where I have like access code Sure Egg and I think something else. And he just scoops. Game 3, again, just another back and forth of we get to a point where we're almost like top decking, just trying to see who can find a win con. And he eventually top decks which one is it? The one that just special summons itself if you control no monsters, and then specials another one. Which he already had Cobalt Sparrow loaded in grave from turn 1. and I only had an Ash, so there wasn't really any coming back from that. Uh, and we talked about it after the match about how I waited to Lancia until he had something on board, and I told him I've been punished by Gamma way too many times. Like, I know a lot of people will just shotgun like the Lancia or the D shifter or whatever. If you're watching this, if you have the option, wait until they have something on board. Whether you know they're playing Gamma or not, like try to let them get a monster on field because that can really be the difference between ending their turn and them just going full combo. This point I'm 2-4. Round 7, I go against the guy that the friend that I was there with played a few rounds earlier, who was on Alien Ogdoadic, basically just reptile.deck. And it was just a clean 2-0. Like, even though I was in top deck mode for half of it because he was playing so many hand traps, every single top deck that I had was just crazy. Just like Branded Fusion, Fusion Destiny, Tanky. Bell was crazy in that matchup because he's trying to play out of the graveyard. So every time he tries to special summon the one from the grave, I just Bell it, and it ends his turn. Round 8 actually went against, I'm assuming it was a relative because they were there together with what looked like their dad of the Nordic player, and they were on Blue Eyes. I almost felt bad. Like, it was another just like clean 2-0. There was nothing they could really do. Um, it was it just wasn't even a close match. At one point they flipped, I think it's called True Light, to revive their Blue Eyes, and instead of risking them having some kind of destruction protection, I just banished the Blue Eyes instead of the True Light. After asking them if True Light had the Eternal Soul Clause, which apparently it does for some dumb reason. Like why the best card in your deck also has to have a self nuke if it's gone. Sure. But yeah, after that, wasn't super late. I think it was like 7-ish. But there was still like 20 minutes left in the round. We were both done with our rounds. And he was like 2-6. I was 4-4. We were both just hungry and tired. So we just left after that. Overall, I'd say like the deck did its job. Like, outside of me misplaying round 2 and possibly costing me that match, and the same thing with round 3, like if I had figured those 2 matches out, it could have been a completely different day for me. I do think going forward, assuming they're gonna ban Verte, I might actually take out like the Fusion Destiny and Branded Fusion packages and throw like the Lunalight stuff in here and see how that fares. I don't know if the extra deck space would necessarily be there. Well, I guess that would be 5 extra cards at least. But yeah, so that's something that I could look into in the future. If you have any other questions about the deck, feel free to reach out. It's really just Tri-Brigade plus a ton of hand traps, plus the broken fusion packages. Which anytime somebody saw the Melfi cards on board, it just made their day, which was worth it to me. But yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to talk about the deck. I've been playing Tri-Brigade since they came out. Either way, have a great week.